20 minutes before 7 here on Morning Live, there's been widespread reaction to the postponement of the State of the Nation address that was scheduled to take place in Parliament's National Assembly tomorrow evening. Now, this despite last week's announcement by National Assembly Speaker Baleka Mbete that there would be no postponement. What could have shifted between then and yesterday? Well, let's now have some analysis. Professor Susan Booysen is in studio with us. She's a political analyst from University of Witwatersrand, as well as political analyst Prince Mashele, who is going to interrogate some developments for us. Good to have both of you. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
So let's get your reaction firstly. I mean, when you heard, Susan, that the SONA has been postponed, an unprecedented moment in the history of South Africa, what were your thoughts?
That times are changing and the ANC is struggling to still keep up to speed with, they know what's happening, but how to structure these events that are unfolding. One circle of events are around the ANC, and with the president, how he maintains power in very adverse political conditions, with Parliament just in an inner circle and the processes of Parliament relentlessly unfolding. And despite what has happened, different momentum in this outer circle of ANC politics, and how to bring the two together. And we know that it was so cast in stone, the date for the SONA address. And then the NEC of the ANC would have been meeting tonight. A momentous decision was expected. And there it was then seen that the two would cohere, but still a bit close to SONA. So SONA was extended, postponed, creating a bit more space for the ANC to catch up with their internal processes. And there have been signals of the circle of power relentlessly shrinking around Jacob Zuma, NEC, NWC, top six, referring those back to those processes. And I believe the writing was against the wall, inevitably, that Zuma would be forced out. And now there's a circle of postponement again in the bigger processes, probably because of those quote-unquote constructive deliberations between Ramaphosa and Zuma, which probably means that Zuma has agreed to resign, given that the NEC and the NWC have been withdrawing his powers, and therefore he's given probably a bit more space in the next few days, probably quite sooner rather than later, to tender resignation. And probably there are all kinds of legal issues, but the Constitution is silent on many of them, as probably protecting the powers, the positions of as many of his cabinet members as possible. So the circle is shrinking, has shrunk, but Zuma still is...
He's still playing that chess game.
A little bit of
He's still playing the chess
mouse
game.
I think now it's just trying to scoop up that little bit of mouse that he can still get.
Exactly. All right, let's bring you into this, Prince, because I know you've got strong views as well. I mean, these deliberations that are taking place between President Jacob Zuma and ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, I mean, what could possibly be discussed at this point, these deliberations?
Look, the subject is one. There are no many deliberations. So they are not talking about the sky and the clouds and the geography. No. They're talking about, Mr. President, when are you leaving the union buildings? That is what they're talking about. My sense is that the talk is done. Remember, there was supposed to be an NEC meeting today in the evening in Cape Town. That meeting has been postponed. What does it mean? That meeting was supposed to take their final decision that he goes, because the previous NEC meeting mandated the top six to go and engage the president on a smooth transition. So this time around, the top six and the NWC needed a clear mandate that the man must go. My sense is, because the NEC has been postponed, he has agreed to go. I would be surprised if Jacob Zuma is president of South Africa by Monday. My guess is he will resign either today or latest Sunday.
Yeah. Let's talk about possible scenarios, because obviously there's a plan in place, and Ramaphosa has said from the beginning that this will be done in a dignified manner and that we will negotiate that he leaves with dignity. President Jacob Zuma has done a lot. let's talk about this dignity that he will go. I mean, South Africa was at its knees, or is at its knees, and we're trying to now get out of a very bad situation that we've seen we've been brought into over these last few years. What could possibly be negotiated to make this a dignified exit? I go back to you, Prince.
Look, this negotiation about a dignified exit, it's a myth. There is no space in South Africa's constitution for a dignified exit of a president. There isn't. You can't find any provision in the constitution that speaks about that. Now, the interpretation of a dignified exit, two possible interpretations. One is that a deal could be struck that is not going to be prosecuted for the crimes that allegedly he has committed. Again, if a thing like that were to be attempted, it would be unlawful. Yeah. So there's no space for that. Secondly, which is the second interpretation, is that there should be not a vote of no confidence against him. So he must actually himself resign so that you smooth the processes. Perhaps in that second interpretation, there's room for a dignified exit. My sense is he has now realized that if he does not resign, he was going to be removed through a vote of no confidence. So that is the small space for a dignified exit. But it doesn't guarantee him that he won't be prosecuted. I think Sean Ebrahim is going to charge him, because Sean Ebrahim is trying to redeem himself, because for many years he has not been acting on the crimes, on the allegations committed by Jacob Zuma and the Guptas. Indications are Sean is ready to charge, trying to guarantee himself a job under Cyril Ramaphosa.
Very quickly, Susan, let's again get those scenarios. If President Jacob Zuma resigns, say today he decides to address the nation and says, I want to resign, and the other scenario, he isn't going to resign and he gets impeached and he gets removed from office. Let's talk about those scenarios and the benefits to him. Which is a better way for him to go?
Yeah. Absolutely, without any doubt, for him to resign, to take that initiative and say, I tender my resignation. Of course, he maintains all of his benefits. He would do that under a motion of no confidence as well, or under impeachment. But we know those rules are in flux. The Parliament subcommittee is still deliberating on those. And so a motion of no confidence is a more likely one. He would also retain the bulk of his benefits. And so equal on those fronts. However, on the political damage to him, whatever credibility is left there, whatever good reputation he might try to retain there is much more dignity in him resigning himself, and not to be seen to be leaving the ANC under force and pressure from his own ANC, his own National Executive Committee, National Working Committee. That is a very, very undignified exit. And so that, in short, that is really the definition of a dignified exit. The little bit that one can concretely put there, that he resigns himself. Yeah. But we know he doesn't see that he has done anything wrong, unlikely as that idea is, but he doesn't acknowledge that he has done things wrong, and he has been offering that argument that the people still love me. That is, any political leader of big fame like a president can go into any community and there will be some adoration from the people there. So, but that does not count anymore. The people of South Africa massively, en masse, are rejecting this president. They want to see a turnover. And so President Zuma has really just been stalling and stalling, probably holding out for more guarantees, but as Prince is absolutely rightly saying, there is no legal avenue. South Africa is a state ruled by rule of law, very, very influential principle there, and the ANC cannot possibly contemplate, not with any credibility or legality, guarantee that there won't be prosecutions. Perhaps they can guarantee there will be legal financial support for future defences, but not as if Zuma has got a shortage of funds to afford that.
I'm going to continue this conversation. We're going to take a break here on the program. My understanding is we're going to have you for a little bit longer, so we will get more views from you. There's so much more to talk about, but we've also got in studio with us the EFF study Mpofu, so we're going to get some reaction from him. Do stay tuned. That's happening right after the break. Stay tuned to Morning Live.